right? So let's talk about how it works. And this is going to be a bit technical, so if you're not that technical, then don't, there's no need for you to watch this to use the new feature. But for those of you that would like to just see what it looks like, here it is. So the file starts off with a bunch of performance-related imports or up values in that sense. We're just going to ignore that for now. That's just for performance. An easy way to enable and disable debugging messages. If I turn this to false, then it will stop pushing things to the console. And here is where the feature actually starts to work. And we start by importing another file. And that other file is this file right here. These are the predefined templates that come with the game. And essentially what they look like is that they have a name, which is the name that you see here at the bottom, right? As you try to tap through then that's the name that you see there at the bottom. They have a field called triggers on hover, and this essentially tells you when should I trigger, right? If I'm hovering over a unit, what criteria, what type of categories does the unit need to satisfy in order for this to be applicable? So here we kind of make the distinction between hovering over an artillery piece and hovering over an extractor. And then we have the actual template data, and this is exactly the same type of information that you would have for your own templates, right? So this is exactly the same format, which is why when in the next video, when we'll be talking about making new templates for you in a separate UI mod, why that's actually relatively easy to do and why the game already provides everything for you to be able to do that. But back to this video, just like that, we have multiple of these templates. They all kind of look the same. And you can see all of the fields here at the top, right? We've got the name, which we already covered, template data, which is the actual template. And then we've got the option to either trigger on hover, which is some kind of category combination of units, or trigger on empty space, which is what this point defense here is for, which means that this one triggers if you're not hovering over an allied unit. Now that's one important realization. It only triggers on your units, right? But that you would only do this with your own units, so that's fine. Now that's what we do right here. We import these templates, and then we kind of filter through the templates to make sure that they're not too garbage. So we check whether the field that we retrieve from the file is a table. We check whether it has the fields that it requires to trigger it all, and then we insert it into the templates that we accept, and we inform ourselves that it's found. So if we go to then we can find those messages here at the top. You can see I've been trying these videos for a long time. There it is. All right. So these are the templates that are found with the name being this name right here, and the name of the field essentially, and the name of the template there, which is then the actual name field. Now that we have our templates, it's about time that we start working with them. So these are context-based templates. They have all this little pre-appended bit of text to it. And we're just going to dive into the cycle function, which is the core functionality. At the start, we determine whether or not we actually have something to hover over, right? Is there a unit that we control below our mouse right now? If there's not, then we change the blueprint ID to empty space being point defense, for now at least. Then we get the selected units, and with the selected units, we determine what categories we can build, and from those categories, we determine what units we can build based on those categories. And this returns us a list of blueprint IDs, where a blueprint ID is this right here, right? This little bit of a unit code, UAB2204, etc. Now, if we can't build anything at all, say for example, you have a tank hero selection, or you have engineers of multiple factions, then we bail out and we tell the user there are no templates available. Now, if we changed the blueprint ID that we're hovering over will reset ourselves. So imagine this situation right here where we can trigger it twice, but now we go here and now it resets. Then we take into account the blueprint ID that we're working with right now. Here we compute the prefix. So this is a bit of an interesting part, because if you look closely at this template data here, you'll notice that they all are AN units, right? If we take this blueprint ID right here, like that, you'll see this is the TAC1 storage. It's the AN storage. But the feature, of course, also works for non-AN units. So if we here have UEF, these would now be the UEF fabricators. All right, there you go. So how do we do that? Well, in Supreme Commander, every unit is prefixed with the word U for unit, and then one letter that represents the faction, which in this case is Aeon, A, UEF is E, Cybran is R, because they were originally called replicators, and Seraphim is X, or S. I think it's S. And what we do here is, based on our current selection, we grab those two first letters, right? And then while we are processing the templates, checking if they are valid for our current situation, we kind of replace the first two letters of our templates right here with whatever we matches our selection, right? So in this case, if we're looking at it, we are looping over all the templates, we retrieve one, we validate the templates, where validation means two things. One, we convert the faction prefix, right? So to the ones that are in our selection, and we check whether or not all the units exist. Imagine if you're doing this with templates with modded units in it, and we check if all of the units are buildable by our current selection, right? So buildable being, with TAC1 engineers, you can't build fabricators, so there's no need to kind of continue to show the template at all. Now, if it's valid, then we check whether or not we should actually show the template, depending on the context, right? So does it match the correct categories, or is there no user unit and do we want to match on empty space? And if that's the case, we insert it into the current list of templates. If we found no templates at all, which is of course possible when you're, for example, hovering over an ACU or other engineers, then we'll just immediately inform the user saying, hey, no templates available. Then we sort the templates to make sure that their order is consistent. And we sort them based on the name of the template, right? So based on this name right here. So this guarantees that the order of the templates that you cycle through is always going to be the same. Then we do a check whether or not we should wrap around, right? So this allows us to have this feature right here, where we can wrap around to back to the start of our templates. And if everything is okay, we'll retrieve a template, make sure it actually exists, and then we'll actually enable the build template, right? Using the set active build template, which is an engine function right there. And that's roughly it. That's the entire function, where we determine the context. We have some early access here and some reset capability. We filter all the available templates that we have here, that we predefined in this file. And then at the end, we'll actually start showing the templates while cycling through it for you as a user to be able to click on it. And that's the whole system. Now, the nice part is that everything we're doing here is happening on the user side of the game, which means that if you click 1,000 times, the only one who is going to be troubled by that is you. You won't bother other players with it. In contrary, the old method, so let's